there's very little room for as much stupid as we could possibly get, and I'm very excited, to get a bigger dose of stupid. We got to go to the five. We got to go right to the five. Oh, outrageous is still on. Sorry. They are outrageous. But let's see what their take on it is. This is now. Look, we know Jessica, very bright, sharp, excellent work, always, so much so that Judge Jeanine fucking hates her. Hate, seething, burning flames, burning my face. Ooh, oh, yeah, that kind of hate. Jesse Waters, of course, is just stretch Ben Shapiro. But the real story I'm looking forward to seeing is this guy right here, wearing his purple sweater, looking like a substitute teacher on anti-bullying day accidentally. I want to hear Greg's brilliant, finely crafted intellectual sifting through the minutia of where he works out every angle and he could put it together. And I want to hear his take on it, because I know it's going to be the brightest of the day. Of course, until we get over to whatever Glenn Beck is blathering at. It's the five. Here comes the five. The five theme song. Five theme song. Yeah.
On this vote,
fuck.
The yeas are 216.
The fuck is 200. Fuck.
The nays are 210. The resolution is adopted without objection.
Really? Look, just because the resolution is adopted, we don't love it any less than our natural-born resolutions. I just want to say that for the record. I don't think it needs to be said.
The motion to reconsider is laid on the table. The office of Speaker.
At this point, I would be surprised if the Republicans didn't change the rules so that they have a motion to inconsider.
Speaker of the House of the United States House of Representatives is hereby declared vacant.
Great. What's the, do I need to give you first and last if I want to move in right away? Because I have my stuff packed. I could be in there. It's vacant. I'm just saying, is it a double queen, or you know what, we can bunk up?
Oh my God. It's over.
Listen to this. Listen, you could hear Judge Jeanine. Did you hear that at the tail end? Listen.
Is hereby declared vacant.
Oh my God. It's over.
Oh my God.
Over. Kevin McCarthy has been ousted as Speaker. The House taking away his gavel in a vote of 2016 to 210. House is now in recess, so
So, yeah, they're outside playing Foursquare, and
Democrats and Republicans will meet separately to discuss who they want to have as Speaker. The effort being led by Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz, who's fuming over out-of-control spending.
Is he? Because according to Mark Levin, he didn't give a shit about out-of-control spending until he, saw a power play where he might end up being the de facto Speaker, which is exactly what he is.
And claims McCarthy's broken promises. Lawmakers duking it out all day over what Kevin's fate.
That there was no fighting. They weren't duking it out. They were dookying it out. They were just throwing shit at each other.
Should be.
Think long and hard before you plunge.
Yeah, this looks like duking to me. Man, does this prove my point about fighting? We need people who will fight. The gentlelady from across the aisle, I would like to discuss respectfully my circumstance as a fighter.
Just into chaos, because that's where we're headed if we vacate the speakership.
Turns out it's true.
Chaos is Speaker McCarthy. Chaos is somebody who we cannot trust with their word.
We need a speaker who will fight for something, anything.
I need a hero. I'm holding up for a hero till the end of the night. And he's gotta be strong, and he's gotta get past it. He's gotta have 12 appropriation bills. I need a hero.
Besides just staying or becoming speaker.
By the way, I'm sorry, what were you saying, tan suit? I can't hear you over your fucking tan suit.
We'll fight for something, anything, besides just staying or becoming speaker.
Under Speaker McCarthy's leadership, our House Republican majority
has actually defied all odds and overperformed expectations again and again.
Yeah, sure we did. Yeah, the whole thing. Yeah, we defied it every time. All right, well, I'll do a lot check. I'm going to look at the darn cars. Oh, he's fleeing the interview.
And again.
This chamber has been run better, more conservatively, and more transparently under Mr. McCarthy than
Whatever his name is.
any other speaker that I have served under. If this House of Representatives has exceeded all expectations, then we definitely need higher expectations.
Hey, dickhead, you don't have the Senate. You don't have the White House. The expectations are lined up with what you can actually pass. Not your fucking fantasy about we should be able to destroy the U.S. government from within by line item vetoing anything we don't like because we outnumber the other party by 4 fucking people at this point.
Former President Trump weighing in on Truth Social saying, quote, why is it
the Republicans are always fighting amongst themselves? Why aren't they fighting the radical left Democrats who are destroying our country and the judge and the clerk and the racist black DA lady who doesn't like my big fucking orange face? Why?
that Republicans are always fighting among themselves?
I don't know. I think fish stinks from the head. I think it's just shitty leadership, really.
Why aren't they fighting the radical left Democrats who are destroying our country?
They were, Matt Gaetz and them sided with, I guess, the radical left Democrats who are destroying the country, just for the record, according to Mark Levin, anyways.
Judge Janine.
I'm furious. First of all, we're without
when are you not?
a speaker. This is historic. Something like this hasn't happened in well over 100 years.
Right. Yeah. These are. It's kind of like a super volcano of bullshit and idiocy. That's what the Republican Party is. Get used to that idea. Donald Trump has been claiming that we've never had anything like this happen to a president before. Well, we've never had a crimer like you coming out of the fucking office before. Also, I'm glad she's wearing that. Otherwise, someone might think she was a doe.
And now what we've got is total chaos when the Republicans.
All right, calm the fuck down. There is no such version of chaos where there's a pro tem speaker. I've been involved in some chaos in my fucking life, and none of it involved someone getting an office and a gavel and having rules of their behavior. Simmer the fuck down.
They're playing out their infighting on national television.
Yeah, hate to see it. I find it very disappointing. I know people at home, our chat room, you guys are having a hard time. I can see emotionally. I hope you guys doing okay. Everybody in the chat room, you all right? I just want to let me check in on you guys. You guys okay? I know you're seeing this fighting. You're seeing it's not so much like mommy and daddy fighting, because that would be between the parties, I suppose. It's more like daddy and his drinking buddy and his drinking buddy's like meth girlfriend yelling at each other in the outside the house while mom's going, "We'll wait till they leave. It's okay. Just stay under the table." Yeah, that's it. But Judge Boxwine scares you. I'm sorry. That was my bad. I apologize.
In a historic way, instead of fighting Joe Biden's policies.
Oh my God. It's almost like they don't even have policies of their own to push back with in the first fucking place.
The one time we are up in virtually every metric as it relates to the Biden administration, you've got the Republicans going out there and showing how dysfunctional they are.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. Be dysfunctional all you want. Just don't show it. Excellent point, Judge.
As Matt Gaetz is engaging in fundraising. And I got to tell you something. I am furious. There's no question that this is something that they have been trying to do for almost 9 months that McCarthy's been speaker. And the truth is I
wrote notes down about this and I lost my place and I had to look because I do not actually understand what the fuck I'm talking about. Again, I will make this point that Judge Jeanine Pirro, Jesse Waters, Gutfeld, intellectually incapable of actually contemplating the depths of the issues in front of them. So they just grab on like a dog jumping off a dock and grabbing the tire on a boat. Like, just, one of the bumpers and just hanging on to it and going, I'm water skiing. This is idiotic.
They've done a lot in Congress. They've gotten a lot of bills passed. The fact that the Senate doesn't want to take them. They've done a lot in terms of oversight.
Yeah, you never mocked Nancy Pelosi for stuff that Mitch McConnell killed in the Senate and called her a loser because of that. You're a winner. You are. Hey, you're winning. You're winning while losing.
And, now you've got the Democrats. This is the crazy thing. Democrats who hate the MAGA Republicans are now joining with the MAGA Republicans to oust Speaker McCarthy.
Other way around, dipshit. Maggots hate Democrats across the board. Democrats are not going to vote for Kevin McCarthy as Speaker, nor should they have to. You elect your own fucking dude. They don't have to bail you out. And as a matter of fact, if they're going to bail somebody out, you watch. You present somebody up and they fail. Jim Jordan fails on the first vote. They put up Scalise, and then they find somebody relatively moderate and try to walk it back. And then they're like, there's no way, because the entire Freedom Caucus is going to vote against it. 40 Democrats will make a deal with that person to put him in there to be a normal Speaker of the House. It'll be fucking hilarious. And that one person vacate rule will be gone.
This is like the devil is in the middle of all of this chaos, and Donald Trump is worried. Why are the Republicans fighting with each other like that?
Well, I think it's because of leadership. I think obviously whoever's in charge dictates and he's got his brain is full of rats and fleas, and it's just a bag of cats. The fucker does not have a cohesive ideology. He doesn't have a grasp of the actual issues or the actual bills or even the people involved. He can't even remember their fucking name. He just calls them congressperson or man. He calls all the women men. But yeah.
This.
All right, so Chad Pergram is telling us they might not even meet tonight. They may meet tonight.
Oh, this is breaking news. Thanks. So that something might happen and something might not happen. Fuck. I'm glad I tuned into the Five. Thanks, Jesse.
It's all in flux. Greg, you've been following this very closely all day. Your thoughts?
Yeah, well, the thing is I got to leave because they need a speaker.
You do.
So I just got a call from Matt. We're going to meet for lunch.
Nice.
Yeah, over at his place.
Nice.
They need to...
As pedestrian jokes go, it's pretty weak, but what are you going to do?
It's kind of sad because nobody
Kinda.
bothered to bring any clarity to this.
I'm sorry. Democrats, what were you thinking? Why if I'd be glad to. I didn't even know I was supposed to bring it. You know what I mean? I didn't realize it was BYOC, bring your own clarity. Had I known, I would have shown up and gone, Greg, you seem confused. The problem is your party isn't actually a party. It's a bunch of fucking lunatics who want to destroy the government, and their entire motto is the government can't do anything right. Elect me and I'll prove it. And then they get in there and try to chip away at every functioning aspect of it. Some of them on behalf of foreign governments. Does that clarify it at all? You look a little glassy-eyed. I don't think it's helping. All right.
Right? If you can't explain or persuade your point without putting people to sleep, you lose.
Well, that's why I don't watch The Five very often.
These parties, we realize, are not mirror images. One wants to win and the other doesn't. They shot themselves in the foot, and by foot, I mean head.
It's not. Yeah, it's not. I know what you're thinking. I know I agree. He's not good at this. I agree. We're all having the same reaction. This is not. There are no positive qualities to Greg Gutfeld being on the air doing anything. He's a placeholder. And the sad part is he knows it. And no amount of stacking paper in front of him will allow him to hide that from himself.
It's okay. So they broke promises. I had to go find out what these promises were, right?
Jesus Christ. And we're and we're worried about clarity. I see.
He promised to use the 2022 baseline numbers as appropriation numbers for this year, and he didn't. Are you angry? He promised not to let bills pass with support of more Dems than Republicans. Maybe he didn't. Are you pissed? I don't know.
He doesn't even know if that one's true. He's reading a list somebody else gave him.
Not to take up a bill with unanimity among Republicans on the House Rules Committee. McCarthy
Unanimity? Okay.
denies making the two latter promises. So who's telling the truth? I don't know. I'm not sure that I care because I'm with Trump on this. I mean, we're talking about this instead of the border, instead of crime, instead of inflation.
Yeah, but you got to understand, one of the reasons they're in this situation is because they don't actually have a solution for any of those issues. Democrats do. But Republicans aren't. They're not interested in, they think government is the problem. The irony that they're like, the government must seal the border. That's the only thing the government should be able to and can do. So it must do that. And that is where the federal government has positive power in this circumstance. Everywhere else, it's a hindrance. Doesn't work that way. Especially when it comes to clean air and clean water and OSHA job protections and the stuff that the majority of people actually interact with every second of every fucking waking minute of their lives.
Time the Republicans implode, you just give the Democrats more cover than Gerald Nadler's underpants. We have serious issues right
now. What? Gerald Nadler's underpants. That's what you...
here, right? And instead of uniting and fighting for the people of America who can sense that this country's going in a really bad direction, we're doing this. I get it. It's a historic event, but it's like one of the few historic events that I don't care about. This has...
Jesus Christ. Hey, dumbass. It's not historic because they're proud of doing it. It's historic because it hasn't been done in a long time. This motherfucker doesn't even understand why people are calling this historic. That, if anything sums up what a fucking dipshit Greg Gutfeld is, that's it. He thinks they mean historic like as a point of pride as opposed to rare in the timescape of the existence of the country. Lord almighty.
No effect on our viewers. Does it make our streets safer? No. Does it make our borders real again? No. Does it make our gas prices go down? No. It's just sound and fury signifying incompetence. And I get my sense is this was a personal thing. It's a personal thing that's being acted out publicly.
I see. So, but let's be clear. You want people like this in charge of the United States of America, oversight over our military, over the FBI. You want people with petty personal grievances that will grind the function of government to a halt because of a fucking pissing contest. And I would argue that Matt Gaetz is really more about protecting himself from the ethics filings against him before he gets expelled. This is really about him covering his ass. This has very little to do with broken promises from McCarthy. And I don't even think that Greg can consider that, there's not enough hard drive space for this motherfucker to even factor that part of it in. But you want somebody like that in charge of something. You want people like that running the country. You care so little for the United States of America that you want these people running it. Good fucking God.
And you know what? It's kind of pathetic. But
kinda.
That's my opinion. Right. And I'll be going now.
Right. So the Speaker, Gutfeld.
He is so funny and charming when he says the funny and charming things. And it's self-deprecation that I like. The part where he kind of openly admits that he has no place at this table and he's sort of a waste of time. And he's like the everyman. But not a real everyman, which kind of gives credit to the general intelligence of the public, but the everyman that people at Fox assume there is, which means dumb fucks. You know, how we all, when we're working here at Fox News and we walk over to the windows and we look out the window and we're either thinking tits or that guy's rich, and then everybody else, look at these fucking rodents. That's all, a whole city full of dumbasses. Not us. We're up here in Fox Tower. But look at all these idiots just scampering around like their lives matter. They don't matter like ours do they, Judge? Jesus Christ. Is that wine? Fuck.
Yes.
Where's your gavel? We got to shine something
Judge, can I borrow your gavel?
Yes, you can.
So McCarthy says it's personal. Gates says this guy signed off on reckless spending that he promised he wouldn't do. What does KDP say?
Well, Nancy Mace voted to oust Speaker McCarthy, which
That's all you need to know.
I think was surprising to people who were watching. And she says it was because it was about trust and keeping your word. Now,
So she sided with the Democrats who voted against him as well. So she voted with the Democrats. Just to, there was a concern about clarity earlier, and I just thought, it might be nice to help.
Matt Gaetz is arguing that he was lying, that he didn't do that what he said he was going to do. But it's a 5-seat majority, and Matt Gaetz is sitting in a very safe seat in Florida. And
yeah, isn't that funny? What's that like? What's that? How's it feel dealing with people like that? Yeah, people in super safe districts, especially legacy kids like him, because his dad was a politician in Florida, tend to feel untouchable and shit like that. And then you feed into it, and you don't do the oversight that amongst your own party that you could do, or you slow walk the ethics investigation into him, or you let him dodge his fucking sex trafficking shit and boot him. You could have booted him when you had the chance, but you didn't. Now it's biting you in the ass.
And when you have a number of Republicans who are in Biden districts, if you want a majority to win, you have to have a majority, and you have to win by a lot.
She's very smart. Those words are very good in that order. I find that she, if she put those, the way she lined them up, actually, became a sentence. Obvious, but whatever.
Actually get your full agenda through. And so the Republican Party looks like they're out of commission. Donald Trump is in court, unfairly or not, today.
Not.
You have this happening, Republicans ousting their own.
We have this happening.
Own speaker,
Neil,
in front of the world, and they have no plan right now to replace the Speaker of the House.
What plan? The fuck you talk? What do you need a plan for? I don't know. What kind of? This is just unfair. And we're gonna plan. Hey, we're grooving. This is jazz. Let's ask Cornel West. He's the jazz candidate. He could roll in there and just make it up as he goes along, because that's how you want, things like the FAA and the EPA and the military and the fucking border security. You want to just kind of feel it, bro. You just want to roll with it.
So which means they can't move their agenda forward. I was talking to a friend who works.
I got news for you, fuckhead. They don't have enough of, they don't have any control in the Senate or the White House. They can't move their agenda forward. They can get incremental successes if they're capable of negotiating across the aisle. That's how it works. It's a fucking democracy. We don't take turns being dictators.
On Capitol Hill on the Senate side, who said the stars are finally aligning with McCarthy's office to get a border deal done that is dead in the water now.
Gee, it's almost like they're not for the things they say they're for. Right.
They can't move forward with that. So there they are. If there's ever a time to pull the fire alarm, today may have been it. I can't believe they've ousted McCarthy before they ousted Jamal Bowman, but I guess that's where we are.
Okay.
Crazy.
We don't even really need to hear from you, Jessica, but.
Yeah, Jessica can just kind of, I'd coast Jessica, honestly. Just let it hang. Because these guys are eating themselves alive. What she should do? She should sit there and list the accomplishments of Kevin McCarthy and why this was a mistake, and why they should run Trump.
Since you're on the table, go ahead. Rub it in, Jessica. Rub it in.
That is not
Make
my
it quick.
style. No, I'm going to make it really long, actually.
No.
You hear a lot about the impossible job of managing a caucus like this. He only had a 5-seat majority. That is the same number that Nancy Pelosi had, and she managed just fine.
Yep.
Nothing like this ever happened when Nancy Pelosi was in charge. And the judge is correct in that they're squandering an opportunity. Today, Gallup released their economic poll data. Republicans have the largest advantage on who's better to handle the economy since 1991. And this will be the cycle for I don't know how many days, especially if they don't even go back and meet with their caucuses tonight. There are 18 Republican congressmen and congresswomen in districts that Joe Biden won. And those people voted for divided government. They said, we want Joe Biden in the White House, but we want to make sure that we have Republicans in control of Congress. This obviously signals that they made a big mistake. But McCarthy actually has no one to blame but himself. Obviously, Matt Gaetz has his own agenda, et cetera. Kevin McCarthy decided that he should go on Face the Nation this weekend and lie about how that continuing resolution got cut over the weekend. He tried to blame the Democrats. Marge Brown
and she laughed. The host laughed in his face.
Pushed back, and she was like, no. They saved your butt, like they did back in January. And it's being widely reported that if he had not done that, there would have been Democrats that would have shifted over and supported him to keep him in control of this. It was a big, big mistake.
Well, no. I love Jessica, but I'm going to disagree with her right now. It wasn't a mistake. That's just who he is. That's part and parcel with how he has to message to his own party. It isn't a mistake. There is no other option. There is not a situation where he can go on Face the Nation and thank Democrats for their bipartisanship around this particular issue, knowing full well that Matt Gaetz is sitting in the wings with a one-vote motion to vacate, and they have the votes to kick him to the curb. I mean, even if he manages to get those winning votes or whatever, he gets pilloried and destroyed. He would literally be putting his fucking life on the line because Trump would effectively like emotionally dox him and say he's a traitor and that you can't be doing this and he's siding with the Democrats and Biden's probably got control over him and this is all part of a big, it's Ukraine all over again, all that shit. It wasn't a mistake. There was no option. McCarthy was always going to be duplicitous and full of shit. He was dealing with a duplicitous and full of shit caucus that had more control over him than they should have had because he gave it to them. It wasn't a mistake. It was the culmination of a series of mistakes. Is this democracy in action? No, it isn't, because you've got minority rule. Quite frankly, if it was, if everybody could, if there was a tiered system of suggesting groups of people like in the House, where instead of whoever the winning party is gets to put forward whoever they want, and then everybody votes, and then the party out of power, they don't have enough votes to stop it, and so that party gets their speaker. There would be like a tiered system where both sides would eventually agree on someone. More than likely, it would be a person from the other party, the party that's in power. So Republicans would end up voting for a Democrat in some situations, or Democrats would end up voting for a Republican. But it'd be one much closer to a person that they could actually converse with, and you'd have a lot more comity in the halls of Congress if you had to do it that way.
He did that, squandering that opportunity to hold on to the speakership for, a few more months. But yeah, Nancy Pelosi.
8 more Scaramucci's.
Hats off to you.
Well, it's easy to hold the line when you're a Democrat because you just want to spend trillions. Republicans don't want to spend that kind of money.
There's a diversity.
There's a big difference.
There's an ideological diversity within our party, but we're unified by the fact
that
you're
unified. You want to break the bank, Jessica. Sorry, there's no unity.
Don't act like you care
on the
about spending. Republicans spend.
How dare you? How dare you?
No, I mean, Jessica's right. The whole spending debate, that's left the building.
Well, there's only 8 that I guess don't.
Greg, don't undermine Jesse just when he doesn't even know what he's saying.
Want to spend trillions of dollars.
Nancy Mace is mad because she said that Kevin McCarthy was going to work with her on women's issues and gun control. I don't know how you got hoodwinked into thinking that a Republican majority leader was going to work with you on those kinds of issues. She just wants attention too.
Maybe the 15 rounds getting him in the first place and the previously failed speakership years ago were going to be a hint and a preview of the way this may go.
Well, it's not about a failed speakership. The Republicans have no interest in governing. They are antithetical to governing. Since the Ron Paul bullshit revolution, which we obviously know was puffed up by Russian funds and all kinds of shit and bots and all that kind of stuff. It's no surprise. But during that kind of like, oh my God, we've got to pay attention to the libertarian wing of the party and this Grover Norquist, you want the government so small you could drown it in a bathtub, and Ronald Reagan's 11 scariest words, I'm from the government and I'm here to help you. Those things all together form a giant stew that's fucking toxic to democracy. And you cannot run a party if those are three of your underlying principles. You can't. If it's considered like an act of courage to simply go, well, we've got to talk to the other folks. We don't have we don't have a plurality of votes to the point where we can get things passed in this House, much less in the Senate and through the presidency. If we want to get things done, we're going to have to meet people halfway. Why the fuck would that take any kind of courage? I'm dead serious. Think of a situation that you would be in. Fucking school board, somebody throwing a fucking birthday party where you're all trying to decide on where to go and who's going to bring what. Any group situation where it's an odd number of people, right? And you got to take a vote, and it's going to be 5-4 or 9-8, whatever the group is, right? Somebody on the side with 8 or 9, especially if you go, we need 2/3 or we're not moving forward, because everybody's got to be on board with this. Why would it be a stretch to think, all right, we've got to listen. We've got to reach out. We've got to respect that the other group wants to, we got to sit down and agree on the problem, for one, and work out what the parameters of the problem that we have an effect on. Because again, I talked about this when I did that fundraiser for Carl Frisch. One of the biggest, this thing that it gets me every time, whenever Republicans are talking about education, one of the things they keep bringing up is we need more parental involvement. And my response, whenever they bring that up, is yes, and so what? You can't do anything about it. Are you proposing that we have a law that says if parents don't help their kids study, they go to jail or they're fined? Of course not. Well, then shut the fuck up, because you have no governing control over that circumstance. I don't want to hear about fixes outside of your fucking job. Seriously, if you want to be a motivational speaker and get people and talk to parents groups and go, this is how you get involved with your kids, this is how you bridge this, if you're having problems, we created an app that helps you the day before your kid gets a lesson. We send you the lesson so you knew the answers and you can help them work their way through it or whatever. You want to do that? Fucking go do that, because that's how you do parental involvement. But you can't pass a law forcing parents to be involved with their kids. And you sure as fuck can't if one of them's dead, or they left, or the kid is in a foster home and they're moved to another foster home. You have them during the time they're at school. You have limited options within that. You need good teachers, safe buildings, enough books and paper for everybody, and you need to feed these motherfuckers. And that's it. Maybe even go so far as busing, so you get them to and from their house to school without having to worry about parental fucking involvement. Anytime a politician starts to talk to you about shit outside the scope of their control, they're passing the buck. I got this when I went to the Harry Truman Library in Kansas. Truman is one of my favorite presidents, and not just because he's a Freemason. And there's a great story about when he was on a whistle stop tour running for president, and he stopped at his old lodge in Indiana, and at his Freemason lodge. And at that time, he had his lodge was a mixed lodge. There were some in the South. There were still some segregated lodges, but up in the North, not so much. And his original lodge was in Indiana, where he was first raised as a Mason. And the current worshipful master of the lodge was a black janitor from the local school. And in a, the phrase "on the level." Some of you may have heard that phrase. You know the word "on the level." Okay, that's a Freemason term. That speaks to all men are created equal. All people are created equal. We're all on the same level. We meet on the level. We're on the level with each other. That's where that phrase comes. Also, square. When you hear about squares, that's because of the Freemason square and compass. That historically we don't imbibe to extremes. We're moderators in that argument. If you drink it all, you do it in moderation. But anyways, he went to his lodge to visit it because he hadn't been there in a long time, and he shows up to his lodge, and this local black janitor is the worshipful master. During and I'm not speaking out of school, but during lodge meetings, the only person of distinction, the cat in the hat, the only guy who gets to wear a hat, which is where that comes from, by the cat in the hat. The only guy who gets to wear a hat inside the lodge is the worshipful master, is the guy who's running things. And he's elected democratically by the other Masons, okay? You don't get picked. It's not about lineage. It's one of the reasons why the Russians and the Iranians outlaw Freemasonry. It's why the Chinese do it. They outlaw Freemasonry because it's democratic at its root. It always has been. And at that meeting, the guy who was the worshipful master kept calling him Mr. President. And he goes, no. Worshipful master, you're the only person here, of reverence. Here, I'm Brother Harry. And I don't want you to think I'm above you just because I sit as President of the United States. See, that's character. And it certainly is antithetical to the fucking egomaniacal orange gibbon shithead that we see, that passes for the Republican president right now. But to have Harry Truman saying to a black man at that time in history, you are the revered person here in this room. I am simply your brother. And by the way, that is why Freemasonry gets a bad rap. That is why Alex Jones and his ilk have been attacking it for a long time, because the whole purpose of it was to make good men better, and that's that. And it promotes people of different men specifically, because we tend to fight more than women do. Men specifically getting together and discussing issues without the burden of religious orthodoxy or political orthodoxy. You don't talk about religion or politics in the lodge, to recognize everyone. And there's another reason why, and there's a little Freemasonry lesson for you, whatever, but why you see so many skulls in Freemasonry, why the imagery of the skull is so important. And to some degree, maybe that's where Skull and Bones got it from. Do you know why? Memento mori. Remember that thou art mortal is the point. And if you pick up a skull, you cannot tell from that skull whether that person was good or bad. We are all the same under our skin. And the only thing that's left behind that's any indication, it's not your corpse, it's not your crown, it's not your fucking box they put you in. The most important thing, the only thing that distinguishes your skull from anybody else's when they find it later is that's the skull of this person, and they did all these good things. You are your works, not your physical person. And again, I don't know, see that, and maybe, MLK was a Prince Hall Mason. Alas, poor York, he wasn't a Mason. York more than likely was. But there was a systemic attack on Masonry, and has been for a very long time, because of that fact. And I gotta say that there'd be a lot less men acting badly in the world if they got together more often in these situations or whatever. So to be one, ask one. That's all I'm saying. If you think about it, do it. If anybody asks you to join, they're not a real Mason. You have to ask. You knock, right? I'm the one who knocks, right? But that's the point. But the amazing thing is that one of the baseline elements of this, and there is no America without Freemasonry. Let's also say that. There is no America without Freemasonry, period. Never mind the fucking architecture of the Capitol and all that kind of stuff. If Ben Franklin hadn't gone to Lafayette's Masonic Lodge in Paris, and because of their brotherhood, gotten him to assist us against the British, we wouldn't exist as a country. End of story. Fucking, that's across the board, period. End of story. Go to Philly sometime, go downtown, and you can see the giant statue of Ben Franklin handing George Washington his Masonic apron. It's a beautiful sight. It's really cool. And I have a thing for George Washington's apron. The design on it is gorgeous. It's amazing. Point being that one of the baseline things that we, live as is the idea that everyone is entitled to their own unique mistake. So no one's religion has power over anybody else's religious beliefs, and your spirit should dictate how you worship and how you interact politically. And when you recognize that you're flawed, you can recognize that other people aren't necessarily more flawed than you are. So you can have a respectful conversation even when you disagree about that solution. And in the process of disagreeing, you might actually find your way to a mutual solution. And that shouldn't be a big fucking reach, but it is because of these dipshits. All right, there you go. They're into the lesson. That's all I got.